Morning everybody. So today we're going to work on writing the ending to our story. So that's the ending section on your planning sheet. So again, the first thing that you need to do is just take a few minutes to reread what you've written so far and check it for any mistakes. So reread yesterday's piece of work and just make sure that you're happy with it and that there isn't anything that you want to change. So I can see on here I've got a couple of things that I'd like to change. I put one rainy, miserable evening, but I've already mentioned the rain, so I'm going to change rainy to wet. One wet, and I need to put a comma in there. One wet, miserable evening. I can see here that I've just put a voice muttered, so I'm going to describe the voice. I'm going to use the word shrill. A shrill voice muttered. Poor Frank's so bored, and he heard a squeak, so I'm going to use an adjective to describe the squeak as well. Quiet. A quiet squeak, and the shadow outside shook. So I've made a few changes there, so you can do that on yours. Pause the video whilst you have a read through. Then what you need to do today is you need to look at the final part of the story. Now, there's not as much for our ending. It's just a summing up of the story so far. So this was the original story, and here is my plan. So I can see here that I decided to put perhaps the strangest thing in the story was original, and I've changed it to the weirdest thing, or they could put the most unusual thing, the most bizarre thing. So perhaps the weirdest. Perhaps the weirdest thing was that the next day, I need to put a comma there, was that the next day Jess had a similar tale to tell. Now Jess in my story is a girl, so I'm going to put she. She too had been visited. So therefore all you need to do, you can see how I've been changing it to my story. Remember, if you're using your rhetorical question, perhaps the giant had visited other children, so you could change it to perhaps the giant had visited other people, perhaps the giant had visited other homes, so you could change those parts of it. So there's not much to adapt in today's section. So when you have finished, the final thing that you need to do, so obviously I've given you a copy of this, and this is my example that will help you if you need it, same as every other day. The final thing you've been given in your books is this. So this is a checklist which has got all those features that we looked at a couple of weeks ago that were in our toolkit. Words such as crept and peered that you were finding in the texts, using sounds such as tapped, scratched, hissed. So all of these, you need to now look through the whole of your story that you have written, and if you can find them, give it a tick. You might want to write a little one of the examples in there to show me that you've done it. Okay? Once you've checked it, if your mum or dad or grandma or your brother or sister or somebody who's older is free, because they might be busy, but if they're free, they too can have a read through and see if they can find these things. And then at the bottom, you can write a comment, so you can say what you found hard, what you found easy, what you think is good about your story, something that you'd like to improve if you could do it again. And your parent could write a comment in there as well if they wish to. Okay, so obviously it depends on if somebody is free, but you can do this part on your own. Okay, and then myself and Miss Lawrence will be able to have a read through and see all those stories and all those features that you've included. Okay, good luck.